Welcome to the Island Shuffle.
Welcome.
Hey, it's a little show. Welcome to our little show.
Welcome home, back home.
It's your home. It's our home.
Welcome to the show, The Island Shuffle. This is a show where we talk about the show Lost, and we watch the show Lost out of order.
We don't watch the first episode, then the second episode, then the third episode, as Netflix might have you do by default. We say beans to that, and we go carve our own path. We decide to do that for reasons that remain unclear. Because it's funny, mostly.
One thing that you get frequently doing that, especially with the show Lost, and this was one of the reasons that we did it,
Yes.
is the show Lost varies an awful lot from the start and its middling seasons and the last couple seasons.
Mm-hmm.
You have very different shows going on. So
Yes.
last week, we watched a very good episode of television.
Yes. Remind me what episode that was. I completely kind of forget.
Was it the one where Kate is on the run and she meets Sawyer's ex-girlfriend?
It was that one, wasn't
Uh-huh.
it? Wait, no, it wasn't even that one. It was, we watched one after that. And that was a good episode. But after that, we watched a Desmond episode. Where
We
Desmond was
watched a
seeing the
Desmond
future.
episode. Oh,
Yes.
yeah, where Desmond was just a really shitty dude.
Yeah, where Desmond was a really shitty dude, and it was still a pretty good
Those
episode.
were both great episodes.
Yeah.
Whereas this week,
We've hopped a little bit forward in time.
yeah, we found ourselves at season 6, episode 3.
Titled, What Kate Does.
And you know what it should have been titled?
What should have been titled?
Shitty television. Truly like 2 out of 10
Yeah.
television.
It was very hard to watch, and not just in the not like in your traditional when you say something's hard to watch, it's like I can't believe how much I'm cringing watching this. This is hard to watch in the sense of it's hard to focus on it because
Yeah.
it's so barely anything.
Nothing really means anything.
Yeah.
None of the plot points that we've ever seen before have
Mhm.
any you don't recognize anything that's
Mhm.
going on.
Mhm.
They're so far taken away from the original story,
Mhm.
and the place that they are just very clearly has no bearing on the future too.
Yes. How does this compare with the other season 6 episodes we've seen, which would be at this point Ricky's journey and Sawyer is a cop now sometimes?
I would say this is maybe the worst episode of Lost I've ever seen.
That is impressive. Even worse than Expose.
Yeah, but it's worse than Expose because Expose was a very bad episode of TV. Absolutely not worth watching.
Mhm.
But it was just focused around these two characters that I didn't care about and I've never met before, whereas this makes me actively hate characters that I've really loved.
Does it make you actively hate? Now let me elephant in the room. Does this make you hate the good boy Sawyer?
It makes me very annoyed with him. And it makes me, I don't know, he's just not the character that I knew and
Yeah,
loved. They
it is-
ruined him.
It is a powerful challenge to what we know of and think of as Sawyer. Actually, yeah, no, it mostly just not. There's not. Should we Okay, we could keep talking in these broad sweeping platitudes, but nothing will demonstrate it more than just diving right in.
Let's delve in.
So the first thing that happens is everybody's at some kind of temple, and Sayid just came back from the dead.
True.
So-
Makes a lot of sense.
So here's the thing about that. That sounds like if I say that and you hear that, you're probably thinking, "Shit, that's sick. That's so crazy. Lost is so crazy." But it's it doesn't even.
it's the most boring thing in the world.
Sayid just wakes up and he's like, "Hey, what happened?" And they're like, "Hey, they brought you back from the dead. It's pretty crazy, right?" And it's just like, I mean, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's fucking stupid. They're in this shitty temple.
Yep. It looks
with-
very. It looks so much like a set. I mean,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
a set, obviously, but
Yeah.
it just so clearly is the whole time I'm just sitting there thinking well, they spent a lot of work on this set, but probably not enough because it still has that theater feel to it.
Yeah, it's like we're still in California. Let's get real here.
Yeah, come on.
It's a really shitty temple. Mac from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is
Yes.
there.
And everybody. So God, what is? I can't even really sort out straight.
It's so tough to even remember what the fuck happens because none of it is interesting.
Okay. So Sayid has just been brought back from the dead. There's a few other people there too. We've got Jack, roll call. Jack, Kate, Sawyer. Classic bunch.
Hurley,
Miles, Jin is there as well.
Jin is there, yeah.
And they're being held at this temple by the others, effectively. So once again, they've been, captured, ostensibly for reasons that remain vague and unclear and irrelevant.
And that will never get answered.
No, of course, no. So. The others catch wind that Sayid has been revived, and they begin asking him questions. And in the ensuing, this ends up being kind of a confrontation. They're asking Sayid, how are you back alive? Jack is like, okay, first off, you guys need to answer questions for us. Who the heck are you guys, and why are you holding us here?
Mm-hmm.
And in the ensuing scuffle, gunfight starts to break out. And the dust settles, and it ends with Sawyer pointing a gun at the leader of the others and going, screw you guys, I'm getting out of here, basically. And
boy, he does.
He does.
He walks out.
So the two main island plots are Kate decides, let me go find Sawyer, I can go bring him back. And the others agree to send out a little party with Kate, Jin, and Mac from It's Always Sunny.
And who's the other guy?
Justin, I guess.
Justin, yeah. Justin is the best character in the show at this point.
He's definitely the best character this episode. He's a shining star. We'll get to him. The other plot revolves around how Sayid is back from the dead, and now the others have begun running tests on him that are effectively torture. They electrocute him. They kind of blow some dust on him. They poke him with a hot poker.
We should note, too, that the others at this point has changed very much.
Yes. Remember when the others were sorry, go on.
Yeah. Well, just technically, yeah. In our memory, the others were sort of these pretty normal people. Mm-hmm. They lived in houses. Mm-hmm. And who was their leader?
It would have been Ben Linus.
Ben was their leader, and he was sort of interesting and stuff. Yeah. But now they're in this shitty temple.
Yeah, everybody's dressed in hippie clothes.
Yeah, exactly. There's the number 2 guy is shitty John Lennon. He looks like if John Lennon had no talents.
Yeah.
And
so like John Lennon.
Yeah.
Woo!
Boom.
Bam. Going after the people who really deserve it.
And then, but the leader is this Asian dude who they really make great effort to make him seem super Asian, and he won't speak English the entire time.
Yep.
But then he does start speaking English.
Yep.
And even though he had a translator the whole time.
Yep.
And he's always playing with powders and making potions and shit, which is just really bullshit.
It's very it's not great.
No, it's just so shitty. It's you just picked a character out of a 4-year-old's imagination of what a character is in the world.
Yeah,
and there's no depth to him or anything. No. He's just shitty placeholder Asian fucking sort of shamanic type.
Yep. It's not good. They could have and to clarify, these two characters, this set of characters, only exist during this arc. It's not oh my gosh, this character that we've known, he's been running this secret temple the whole time. Everything in the temple is so divorced from everything else that has ever happened in the show.
Exactly. It's such an insular place that has no bearing on anything outside of the temple walls that we didn't know existed 2 minutes ago.
It makes no sense, and it's not interesting to watch, and it's incredibly boring. In all the I think there's a lot of things against season 6. There's a whole laundry list. I think the temple arc is the absolute worst shit they ever did.
It's goddamn awful.
It's so boring and insufferable to watch.
It's so dumb, and it just sucks because it's like there's lives on the line. Like
Exactly.
Sayid is dead, and I guess there's not lives on the line because
Yeah.
even when someone dies, they just bring them back.
Exactly. This should be like a really cool, crazy plot. Like Sayid is back from the fucking grave.
Yeah.
He was dead and now he is not, and that raises so many questions. And of course they're gonna be suspicious, but the way it's executed is so like so good. It's just going through the motions.
It's
kinda.
goddamn boring.
Yeah.
It's so uninteresting.
It's not fun or like cool to watch, because at least in season 5 when they get buck wild with the like time travel shit, it's just like what? It's literally like what? And even the characters are like, well, this is fucking pretty crazy. We've seen a lot of shit, and this like kind of really is crazy.
Well,
but now everybody's just like, well, Saeed's back from the dead. Okay.
That was
I
the
guess.
thing too. At no point during the entire episode did anything really unexpected happen.
No, it was.
It's so I find the two main things about this episode is nothing unexpected happens. You expect like these two mystery figures at the top to just keep being mysterious and do shitty things, and that's what they do.
Yeah, take a shot every time. This applies to the whole show, but particularly during this arc. Take a shot every time one of them someone asks a question and someone deflects it by being mysterious and vague.
Exactly.
It's literally every single dialogue. Why are you torturing me? It was a test.
Tell you, yeah.
Can't tell you, but it was a test.
And that's the thing. So, like, firstly, it's never really unexpected. You pretty much know what they're going to do. And secondly, as a viewer, they're not giving you any information as to what's going on the screen.
Yeah.
And that's the most frustrating thing in the entire world.
So frustrating. And it's not like the first time Lost has, like, done that sort of shit. But it tends to do it in a way that's a lot more compelling.
Exactly.
So
there
like,
has to be a payoff eventually.
Exactly.
And I don't think we will ever get that with this plot
No, I
line.
can guarantee you that never pays off. But like with the hatches, for instance, like you keep learning like new little things, little bits and pieces about how, and then it's like, oh, there's more hatches here, and there's, oh my gosh, there was a whole operation and all that. Like that way that whole thing is built up in general. Is pretty cool. It's like, it feels like
absolutely. It's like slow, drawn out process of like divulging information, and you sort of get the same experience as the people on the island do, as they're slowly finding out more about the island.
Exactly. But it feels like at this point in the show, especially, it feels like the characters should be taking absolutely no shit anymore. And to an extent they do, but it still doesn't feel like it just
why are they
feel like
fucking prisoners?
Why
again?
are they? Why don't they just like Sawyer's the only guy got one as always. Sawyer's the only one with the right idea. He's just like, I'm just gonna leave.
Exactly.
Fuck this and fuck you guys.
And that's the funny thing too, and what just makes this whole situation that they're in such a colossal failure is that like Sawyer just leaves. It takes him next to no effort, and then Kate just leaves, and it takes her next to no effort.
She like convinces them, like she's just like, I can bring him back, and they're just like, well, all right, go for it.
And then she's gone.
She's gone. She's off to the races.
So it's like there's no stakes here. There's nothing. You're not worried about them. You don't give a shit.
It's so, and especially like I don't want to dive too deep into the like context surrounding this episode, because that would be counter to the whole point of this podcast, kind of. But for where the characters are at this state in the story, a lot of their behaviors are just like make no sense. They're just drifting and saying the words that are fed to them by the writers. It's very much like when people say Lost like dropped off, this is what they're talking about. They're talking about season 6. I need to be on the record here. I really fucking like season 5 a lot.
And we still haven't gotten a season 5 episode. We're 17 episodes in.
We'll get there. And I'm actually really curious to revisit season 5, and I wonder if it holds up as good, or if it's like closer to season 6 is in its fucking non-existence.
I don't think it could be close to this.
I don't think so.
I was sort of shocked, especially because as we were watching it,
and
especially when it first began, it was sort of funny for me. I was like, because we had only watched good episodes recently.
Yeah.
I actually thought that Lost was a really good show.
Yeah, season 6 is really like a good, like, really does a lot of work to pull down what is otherwise a like fun little goofy show.
Yeah. Season 6 destroys the entire every ounce of credibility that the show had at a certain point. Season 6 is so goddamn awful from what I've seen.
It's so far from good. And the temple shit is the worst shit. It gets I don't want to say it gets better, but I will say it gets I honestly don't remember. You remember, we've seen a couple of other season 6 episodes. Let's talk about that. We've seen the Ricky episode.
I think that was our first episode.
That was like our first or second episode was the Ricky episode where it was all Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of a standout episode. And we've also seen the episode where Sawyer is, playing. He's playing Locke and the other person against each other, and also he's a buddy cop in the alternate world, which we'll
that
get
was
to.
fun. I liked Buddy Cop Sawyer.
Yeah, I think there's like something. Once they get out of the temple, I think there's something like to like you can tell what they were trying to do. And it doesn't make it any better. But it at least it's not as like unwatchable as the early shit. And like when they get like it feels like in the last half of season 6 they kind of get a little better at being like, okay, we actually have to finish this. Let's fucking go a bit. And it's still like pretty bad, but it's not like you can't tell what you're watching bad. But but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. I fucking hope so.
I sure do too, because there's definitely a lot more of this season that we've got to watch.
I was shocked by this episode, honestly. I was quite frankly caught off guard. And it's really telling too as to how awful and useless the story that they put forward was. Just the fact that this is the first time I'm looking at the thing. We're like almost 20 minutes into the episode, and we haven't really delved into the actual plot very much because it's so difficult to. It's nonsensical. Nothing is useful in the entire episode.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Even in the other like Sawyer episode that we talked about, it like there's stuff happening. There's stuff to talk about. In that. There's so little in that. Let's try to though. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
I feel like the on the island stuff we could nail down in about 5 minutes because it's just the same thing over and over again.
It's pretty quick. So Sayid comes back from the dead. He gets tortured by the boys. And he comes out and he says, "They tortured me. What the heck is this nonsense?" And he's obviously distraught about it, as anybody would be. And the leaders say, like, "Don't worry, you passed a test." And then we see a scene where he's like, "Oh, I just lied to him, didn't I?" And it's like, boom, whoa, shit. Well, okay, who cares?
Yeah,
And, So Jack is trying to get down to the bottom of business, get some answers. And the leader says, "Here. The thing about Sayid is he's been infected. You've got to give him this pill here, this one that I've got, and you got to convince him to take it because he has to take it willingly and blah, blah, blah." And so he brings it to Sayid, and Said's like, "Well, I'll take it if you tell me to, but do you trust these guys?" And Jack is like, "No, I really don't." So he goes back to them and says, "You got to tell me what's actually in this pill for real. For realsies, I'm not kidding. No more of this, like, well, it's a secret, it's gotta be a mystery stuff. Just actually tell me what's in this pill." And still they're like, "Well, sorry, buddy, we can't do it." So he's like, "Well, fuck you then," and he takes the pill.
Takes it.
Which is a pretty funny move. A move I respect in general. And he takes it and they immediately start Heimliching him and he spits the pill out. And he And so Jack is like, "So you're going to tell me what's in the pill now?" And guess what? It was poison. The way they explain it afterwards is they say, so Jack eventually goes like, "So why the hell are you trying to poison this guy?" And the explanation they give is, "We believe Sayid has not just been infected, but he has been claimed by a darkness. And when the darkness reaches his heart, he will no longer be the Sayid that we know and love."
That's so shitty.
It's so
He's been claimed by a darkness.
Yeah.
It's like, that's so fucking dumb.
That's not anything.
No, exactly.
That's not anything that has ever appeared on the show before.
Exactly. It has nothing to do with the island.
It's barely
at this point.
It has barely any ramifications except for the fact that they say, like, Jack is like, "Well, sounds kind of like bullshit to me. How do you guys know this is gonna happen?" And they say, "Well, it happened to your sister. And Jack kind of sits there like with a blank expression on his face because he doesn't know that that's supposed to mean anything. We had to look it up ourselves because we didn't know who they were referring to.
No.
They were referring to Claire. So Claire, I guess, has also been claimed by this darkness.
And is Jack's sister.
And is Jack's sister, too, by the way.
A lot of very unclimactic or unfortunately at this point uninteresting reveals.
Exactly.
Because those should all be like absolute bombshells that they're
Exactly.
dropping, but
Like, you're
they
telling
fall
me-
so flat.
You're telling me that there's an infection that's in our friend who we've known and love, Sayid?
Uh-huh.
You're telling me he's going to be some kind of zombie type guy now, that he's back from the dead or something? And that Claire is also suffering from this, and it just lands with a thud. It doesn't like have any impact at all.
No, exactly.
Like that should be like I should be like losing my mind at that reveal. But I'm like just sitting there like, please, please let me go.
Yeah,
Please
exactly.
free me.
Has it been 42 minutes yet?
Yes. Meanwhile, Kate's escaped. It's Kate, Jin, Mac, and Hurley. Not Hurley, sorry, Justin.
And Justin, yeah. So she hasn't escaped at this point. They're willingly going with her to find Sawyer.
Yes, they're escorting her to Sawyer. And throughout this excursion, they're just kind of like... one thing I really like about this episode is that Justin, this character we've never met before and likely never will, is actually tremendously helpful.
Justin is the only interesting part of this episode,
He's really
and
good.
He's great.
He's so good.
Great. Yeah.
He's just like Jin is like, do you know how these guys got back to the island? And Justin is like, oh, they came back on the plane that landed over. And Mac is just like, hey, Justin, shut it. We're supposed to be obtuse and mysterious. You can't just be blabbing this stuff off. And like that's their whole dynamic, and it's really good. It's a refreshing change of pace.
Funny, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good minute that we get on screen.
Yeah,
we get a good minute.
We get a good minute of him having such an argument, and eventually, during this minute of confusion, Kate and Jin manage to subdue their guards and take off.
I feel like Kate just does it all very easily
Mm-hmm.
without any sort of struggle from the other guys.
Yep, none at all. And eventually Jin is like, why are you doing this? Aren't you... I forget why Jin leaves. Does it matter?
No.
Okay.
No.
Jin speaks perfect English by now also, by the way. That's the thing that's a state of Jin right now.
Now that his dialogue doesn't matter anymore because the state of the show is in such turmoil and nothing means anything, he can finally communicate.
He can, yeah. So Jin leaves because he's mad at Kate, I think. Kate eventually finds Sawyer hanging out in those yellow houses that the others were living in once upon a time. And Kate and Sawyer pulls something out from under the floorboards, and he's sad about it. But then he spots Kate and is like, you shouldn't have followed me. And Kate's like, well, I did. This is classic Kate. And they go out and sit on the dock and have a sad little conversation about what exactly they're here for. I think Kate says, like, the reason I came back to the island is to find Claire and so that I could bring her back to her baby. And then Sawyer's like, well, that sounds nice, but I was living on the island and I had a wife and she died. And so now I'm sad about it.
He didn't have a wife.
Oh, no, yeah, that's right. He was going to marry Juliet.
Yeah. Sawyer and Juliet apparently had a romantic storyline that I had no clue about.
It is a real thing.
And then she died for some reason.
Yeah, she does
because
die.
nobody can be happy.
No, of course. You can't have happiness on the show.
Also, it is just super bullshit that, like, there can't be a romantic interest with Jack that doesn't just immediately turn around and become a romantic interest with Sawyer. It's absolutely fucked.
It's true, though. Sawyer stays being our protagonist, but he spends most of this episode being incredibly sad.
Yeah, he sucks this episode.
He does kind of suck this episode. And then Kate is just like, well, maybe I shouldn't have come. Oh, well. And then goes back to the temple. That's pretty much it. There's nothing.
That's it.
It's really not anything.
No.
The episode ends with Jin on his own, on his way back to the temple, gets ambushed by the two dudes, Mac and Justin. And then they get ambushed by
Claire,
who has at this point apparently been claimed by the darkness. You know? You know.
You know, claimed by the darkness.
You know. That's the episode. Except not really, because there's one part of season 6 that you all know and love. Maybe you don't, but if you don't, let's fucking talk about it. It's instead of flashbacks,
flash
sideways. You don't worry about characters' past anymore, because now we're talking about what if they lived in a universe where the plane actually landed instead of crashing on the island.
Fucked. It's so fucking shitty.
bad.
This and yeah. I wish that this storyline were interesting because it almost had all the ingredients to be interesting and was just hindered by like god awful dialogue and no
at least
there's no logic.
At least
it.
like Sawyer's episode had that same kind of like this is a cardboard cutout of a world.
Yeah.
But at least Sawyer was a cop.
Exactly, it was sort of fun.
At least, yeah, when they're having fun with that, it's like a little bit easier to watch.
Yeah.
Here it feels a little more shitty.
Yeah, it's just thin, and it's like eating a breakfast cereal box for breakfast.
Yes, that's exactly what it's like. So in this alternate world, Kate is still a fugitive.
Yeah, exactly, because Sawyer can have an alternate world where he's a fucking cop, but Kate is always a fugitive.
Always a fugitive no matter what. But in this world, he doesn't necessarily leave every single life she touches in a complete shambles.
True, actually.
Almost, but not quite.
Not quite, because, Kate's flight lands.
Yeah.
Oceanic Flight 815 lands.
That's the one.
And then somehow, which we don't get to see,
No.
she gets away from her officer who's escorting her because apparently criminals just do that like 18 times a week.
Yeah, it's easy. It's easy peasy. Especially
when you have no prior criminal history.
And murder in your heart.
Yeah. That is especially it.
Yeah.
And then she runs into a taxi. And she says, drive. And the guy's like, but I have a customer. And then she points a gun at him, which I guess she stole off the guy or something.
Probably.
Because he's shitty at being a cop.
Hey, it's L.A., baby.
She points the gun at him and she's like, drive.
Yep.
And then the camera pans over and it's Claire there.
Claire's still pregnant. And she's all like, please just let me go, love. And Kate's just like, I don't care. Drive. Gotta get out of here. Drive.
Yeah.
And so there's a chaotic scene that doesn't really amount to much.
It's a very low-speed chase.
Yeah, just kind of like slowly driving, and then eventually the cab driver gets out and leaves, and Kate takes over the cab.
And Claire's like, let me leave.
And then Kate eventually is like, give me your purse, and then you can go. And Claire acquiesces, leaves. The rat just sneezed, I think, and that was really cute. So Kate leaves with the taxi, goes to some mechanic to get her cuffs off, and then goes in the bathroom to change out of her recognizable fugitive clothes or whatever. And while looking through the purse, sees a stuffed plush dolphin and gets sad and feels remorse.
That is it.
That is it.
She's like, oh, the lady was having a baby.
Yeah. Like,
maybe I shouldn't have robbed her at gunpoint.
Oh, in this world we get second chances.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm not quite a horrible fugitive.
So you know what she fucking does? She takes that taxi that she stole, drives it back to the nearest bus stop to where Claire left.
Yep.
And then she's like, get in the car.
Yeah, she's like, you want to ride to wherever you're going? And Claire's like, you are a fugitive, aren't you? And Kate's like, yeah, but I came back with your purse. Here's your purse. You're going to trust me or not? And Claire's like, well, I guess.
And I feel like the right answer for Claire every time, 150 times out of 100, is just no. Don't get in a cab with the fugitive.
No.
They are a shitty shithead. They held you at gunpoint like 10 minutes ago.
You know what they'll bring to the table.
Just take a fucking bus.
Just take a bus. Wait for the bus. Please wait for the bus. But no, she does it anyway. Claire gets a ride to where she's planning on giving up her baby for adoption. She gets a ride. So of course she goes directly to the parents' home. The new parents' home, the adoptive mother's home. But the adoptive mother answers the door and is like, oh, my husband left me. I'm sorry I didn't get in touch with you, but I'm not ready for a baby like this. And Claire's like, what the fuck is this shit? What are you talking? Oh, no, I'm having contractions. And boy, oh, boy. One thing after another in this madcap world. where up is down and left is right. So Kate drives Claire into the hospital, which is very nice of Kate. Did I mix those up? Kate drives Claire to the hospital.
Kate drives Claire, yeah.
And Claire goes in, and Claire's like, "What's happening? What's going on?" And he's like, "I don't." It's like, I don't know. It seems like
It seems like you're having a baby to me.
Seems pretty clear cut to me.
Yeah, pretty self-explanatory.
I've never had a baby, but it feels like if you've got them pains and you're going to a hospital, there's a good chance you're gonna have a baby.
She yelled the words, "It's coming."
Yeah, like you know what's up.
Oh my god.
But what's happening? So.
But then to be fair, the doctor does come and she's like, "What's happening?" And he's like, "Well, you're a little early, but you can have that baby now if you want to."
Yeah.
And she's like, "I don't want to." So she doesn't.
She doesn't. They give her the baby stopping needle.
Yeah, they just poke that baby stopping needle into her and, let's move on with the day,
Oh, my God.
You know what I'm saying?
Man, oh, man. Thank goodness. Medicine has come such a long way.
Yeah, ever since the baby stopping needle got introduced, honestly, women can be pregnant for
Forever.
2.5 years at this
As
point.
long as they want, they can just give birth to full-grown human beings. They can just pop that baby stopping needle in there and put it off for another 9 months.
There was I think it was on Comedy Bang Bang. There was a bit of a sketch where Reggie Watts was like, "I wish I was never born," and then like he goes to sleep and wakes up the next day and he's just a full-grown man still inside the womb.
That's twisted.
It's pretty twisted.
That
I guess this is in that Flash Sideways where they've got the old baby stopping needle.
Yeah, exactly. Are you telling me that Comedy Bang Bang universe is in this alternate reality where
It definitely, I bet they're filmed in the same studio.
Probably. I mean, hey.
Scott Aukerman's house.
They just filmed everything. If you look really closely in the background of the car chase scene, you can just see Scott Aukerman's belongings.
He's like mowing his lawn.
Yeah, he's just like, "Hey guys, have fun." How's my Scott Aukerman?
Silly old kids.
Crazy kids. Anyways, that's a much better show than this one right now.
That's it. Does anything else happen? The cops come.
The cops come to investigate now that
investigate.
So Claire is recovering from the baby stopping needle. The cops come in. The cops come in and they obviously investigate. They're like, "Hey, did you have you had another guest? We were wondering if you could tell us about anything. They drove here in a stolen cab. We were wondering if you knew." And Claire's just like, "Well, I don't know nothing, officers." And
I've never met that lady in my life.
And she covers for Kate, which is nice. And Kate comes out and is like, "Thanks, I didn't really deserve that." And Claire's like, "Well, whatever. Take my credit card."
Yeah.
And
did she do that?
She does that.
She gave her credit card?
Yeah, she's like, "It's not much, but it'll help. You help me out."
That's so shitty.
And it's like,
that's so fucking awful.
Kate didn't help you. You could have just waited for the bus.
Exactly. Kate really didn't
same.
help you in any way whatsoever.
I mean, she drove you to the hospital, I guess, but like that is not.
It's not enough.
It's
not enough for a lady who held you at gunpoint an hour ago.
It's really not. I don't think. I understand the stakes of having a baby are quite high, but so are the stakes of being robbed and held at gunpoint.
Exactly.
It feels weird that that's just like, well. That's so well. You brought back the purse. Let bygones be bygones.
So fucking shitty.
It's bad. That is pretty. I'm looking through my notes just to see if there's any other obscene things that I want to bring up in this episode. Oh God.
Do you want to? I have like 5 or 6 bullet points written here.
Hit me.
7 bullet points. I'll read them all. I'm just gonna read them all in order.
Please.
Sayid's dead, but then he's alive. Slow speed chase. That sucks. Sawyer leaves. This show sucks. Medicine. Shitty old medicine. Claire doesn't give a shit about being taken hostage. And then Sawyer and Juliet?
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds like about the pace of the episode.
feel like those were all the things I thought during the episode. It was just such a mindless.
It was nothing.
Useless. Yeah, exactly. It was nothing.
It was such nothing. And the show's done, I don't know. It feels like it's not the first nothing episode the show ever does. Obviously, there's a lot of episodes in the show that are just kind of like clearly they're spinning the wheels. But this is like on another level.
Fuck, they're spinning the wheels, but it's in like one of those police boots that
Yeah.
they put on cars when it's been parked someplace for too long, so then you
Yeah.
can't move your car anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, it's spinning the wheels and like the car is also about to explode.
The car is about to explode.
Yeah.
But don't worry, after it explodes, it's going to come back to life. And its heart, though, will be taken over by like a Mazda, whereas before it was a Honda Civic.
It's so crazy how bad season 6 is. It's so crazy. With a few exceptions, season 6 is like pretty much at this pace. There may even be worse episodes than this one.
It's some of the worst TV I've ever seen.
It sucks so bad. And it's not even as bad as like anything in season 4 or 5 or like even the like worst episodes of season 3 or so. Like it's just like it's like the opposite of anything fun.
What would you give this out of 10? If you had to appropriately rate it.
Oh gosh. Okay. So for context, I'd probably give that Ricky episode where Ricky suffered for 30 minutes and then the island was the cork the whole time. I would give that about a 6. Maybe.
Really, a 6?
Maybe a 5 or a 6. I think there's a lot of good performing in that episode. I think there's a lot of silliness in that episode. I think you can tell they had a lot of fun with it. I would say a similar rating, maybe a 5, for the Sawyer episode where he's a buddy cop. And for the same reason of like, there's a lot of similar scenes where it's like, this isn't really how dialogue is. But there's also like, you have Terry O'Quinn being Locke as a like fake person trying to like not knowing how to emote kind of, and it actually kind of works a bit. You have Sawyer being Sawyer playing both sides. You have the alternate world where at least they're having a little bit more fun with it. So maybe I'd give that one a 4 because it still has a lot of season 6 pitfalls. This I'd give like a 1 maybe.
Yeah, I would say
this I'd give like a 1 maybe. I wouldn't give it a 0.
a 1.5.
Yeah, I would not recommend this episode under any circumstances really.
No, I would say even if you're just watching the whole show, just skip this episode.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't have to watch all 120 episodes of Lost, it turns out, because
some of them are just not worth
also
anyone's
the
time.
Exodus episode. I would skip that, but I'd give that like a 3 out of 10.
Oh, you mean the expose?
Yeah, not Exodus.
Exodus is the season 1 finale.
Yeah,
which is actually quite fun to watch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the show was good.
Mm-hmm.
But this is truly, actually, without a doubt, one of the worst hours of television I've ever seen.
What is a worse hour of television you've ever seen? Can you think of one at this
No, I
juncture?
really cannot.
Okay. Wow. That's impressive.
I can't think of a show that's really worse than this show is at this point.
It's so baffling. It's so, because, like, again, it bears repeating. Like, this is the common narrative around Lost is that it is a steady decline. And it kind of trends that way a bit. And, like, when you look at it all together, it kind of does trend that way. It does kind of decline.
Yeah.
But it's not like a solid line. There's spikes.
There's ups and downs.
There's ups and downs. There's spikes and troughs. A lot of season 5 I find very enjoyable, even though it's arguably pretty bad and quite silly. At least they're having a lot of fun with it. Then even in season 6, there's points where it's like, oh, you guys are having a goof now. And in as early as season 3 and 2, there are episodes of Lost where it's like, this is not worth anything.
Yeah. These are solid, like, fucking
these are filler episodes.
shitty episodes.
These are just classic pieces of shit episodes. It still is baffling how like unwatchable this is though. This
is awful.
And it bears repeating. It's not like whoa.
It's not funny awful.
It's not like funny awful like past episodes.
It's not like a B movie or anything.
Yeah, exactly. This is just like
it's not like the movie B movie.
It's not like the movie B movie, which is a cinema classic. This one is just like it's just nothing. It just feels like absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
It goes in one ear and out the other. I feel I am not changed or moved or inspired in any way by this episode.
No,
doesn't inspire
there's no
anything.
substance to it whatsoever.
It
sucked.
It's emptiness. It's the void.
It's the void.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
There you have
Season 6, Episode 3 is the void.
It's the
We have
void.
found the black hole that will eventually engulf us all.
We have. And there's more episodes of that caliber coming up because a lot of this arc I remember being like a lot of the temple arc sucking like this quite
I
badly.
am ready for sweet, sweet death.
Yeah, who isn't, you know? It's 2017.
Let's get ready.
Let's get ready.
Fuck yeah.
All right. This has been one of our bleaker episodes of
Yeah.
The Island Shuffle. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much
thanks.
for listening.
We love
and for experiencing this god-awful episode with us today.
We do appreciate it. I've been Bean.
I've been James.
Sweet dreams, and like we say at the end of every episode.